Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Welcome to another episode of NFL Download, where we give you scores of your favorite teams. And boy, do we have a lot of scores. I'm your co-host right now, and I'm James J. Train Martin, and filling in for Mac. We wish you well, Mac, and hope you continue to get better and get back soon. Sonia, the lady of Prim Proper Sports and of National Streaming Sports. Sonia, how you doing today?
I am doing so well. My voice is a little gone, like I just lost it just as soon as I said hi. I'm doing well, James. How are you tonight? Good to see you. Thanks for having me on again. And of course, wishing Mac the best in his recovery coming off of IR.
Oh man. I don't know if he's watching any games. His team didn't do so well today, but man, do we have a lot of things to talk about today. And I know you're excited, regardless of the loss. And but I think we talked earlier about whether or not the Panthers would cover the spread. And boy, did they look like they were ready to play against the champs and take down the champs. It was a all-out battle. It was like a Mike Tyson, not Jake Paul, but Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield fight. Man, I mean, they went head-to-head, blow for blow. And I mean, what did you think about this game?
So first of all, I am super hyped up. I'm super excited. I know everybody considers it like a moral win, but with your permission, I'd like to play a small clip from this morning where I basically told the panel from our big show that Vegas had us as an 11-point spread falling to the Chiefs. And I was like, either way, I don't think it. Either we'd win outright or we would win by the point. So with your permission, I'd like to play that.
Absolutely. Please, by all means.
Alrighty. I'm just going to play it and just say no thanks. So here we go. Want to start a losing trend, but let's be clear. I mean, the Panthers have the home advantage. I gave you all the other reasons why we really should be able to play ball today at a minimum and be very competitive, no matter who it is that we are opposing. So when you do that, when you talk about those facts, plus everybody coming in, I mean, I don't know if I would say this is a trap game. I think this is going to be a good football game. I think it's going to come down to who plays better ball, who manages the clock better. And if you don't want Patrick Mahomes to score, you got to keep him off the field. So I think it's going to be one of those days that I hope the defense is ready for when he does come out there to hurry up and get him off the field. And I hope the offense is definitely well rested because we're going to have to play all 4 quarters and stay out there and keep the Chiefs off the field. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. Like I said, Carolina is going to win either by the point spread or win outright, and I stand on that. Make sure you save this clip because I told you first. My next pick is
somebody is clairvoyant because they predicted that it would be definitely closer than people thought. And man, lo and behold, wow, that game came down to the wire. I mean, 27-27 at the end. Bryce Young had 263, 1 touchdown. Chuba Hubbard ran for 58 yards, a touchdown. David Moore out of nowhere. Bryce Young throws a late touchdown, laser touchdown to tie the game. And they got to Patrick Mahomes 5 times. They sacked him 5 times. And he had a decent game. He threw 3 TDs, but they were able to slow him down towards the end to be able to get back to the game. And look, this is a team that seemed inspired, and everything was predicated on the play of Bryce Young, a rejuvenated, a player that seems like he was just motivated to come back off the bench and play. And as a Saints fan, I'm a bit afraid. I'm a bit afraid to see what the season. I'm glad we have to play them again this season because they look like they're motivated. You don't give somebody that much energy and that much motivation and allow them to stay in the games. They look motivated to come back next season and do some things if they get some key pieces in right places, Sonia.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean as they say blow my own horn, but I told y'all so. And at the beginning of that clip, I kind of didn't go all the way back, but I literally said if we lost, it'd be by 3 points. Like that clip, the beginning of that clip literally says that J Train, you were there, you know it. And I have the voice to tell the story as to why I'm sounding so raspy right now. But Bryce looked good. I mean, sometimes we see quarterbacks benched and we never see them again. And this is an opportunity that it looks like Andy Dalton is well on the sidelines, and it just looks like even though that sabbatical was given, it just kind of helped out Bryce. He needed a break, clearly mentally and physically. Bryce did some big runs today, took a couple of big hits himself. Kudos to that defense. I said that coming off the bye, they were going to have to play lights out. They were going to have to be strong, 10 toes down in Charlotte. And they did. Sacked Patrick Mahomes 5 times, wrapped him up Thanksgiving style like a turkey, and had Kermit laid out a few times. I'm very excited to see the maturation of Bryce. This looks like Heisman Trophy Bryce. And he looked cool, calm, and collected. He wasn't afraid to drop back. He wasn't afraid to come out the pocket. He wasn't afraid of any of that. He just did not look like the same Bryce we saw even glimpses of at even the supposedly better times last year when we won 2 games. This still looks like a more mature Bryce. It looks like he has control of the team, and that's something that was very important for everybody to see, from coaches, management, what have you. I'm on here now making sure I'm sharing this so that everybody can see it, because I promised Panther fans we would talk about this, because yes, it is a moral victory, even by a field goal, to beat the reigning Super Bowl champs. And shout out to Jatavian Sanders. We're wishing him well. He went down with a bad hit, literally landed on his head. He was evaluated originally for a concussion there in Charlotte at the hospital. And he has since been released within the last 2 hours now with neck/concussion evaluations outside of hospital care. So glad that he could at least be ambulatory to the point of being able to be mobile and to be released home. So definitely glad for that. But luckily for you, J Train, your Saints have already wrapped up with us. It was split, if I remember correctly, 1-1. So we're done with you all. But as far as the rest of the South, like I said on a video clip I put on TikTok, we are coming. Please know we're coming. Please know that there is no competition like the one the Chiefs gave us on today. And we will be coming for the rest of the South and the league. And it does feel good because every announcer out there, even though we did not win, no one can say that these Panthers played sloppy. They didn't play. They just can't say anything negative except to the fact that we lost. And it was kind of an expected loss, but not like how, it was a loss with valor. So hard-fought valor, Panthers, congrats to them.
Yeah, and look, hats off to the Panthers, your team, and they played a valiant game. And the Chiefs won the game, but these are the defending champions, and these are guys that only lost 1 game. So every team is giving the Chiefs their best, and the Panthers did just that. It's just unfortunately Patrick Mahomes and his late game magic. You give him a couple of minutes, you give him 13 seconds, he's going to find a way to try to win the game, and that's what happened.
Yeah, welcome back to Adam Thielen and Jonathan Brooks, who had been on IR.
Absolutely. Now, looks like they're getting a lot of their players back. Ikwangu, forgot the
yes.
Yeah, so yeah, good. Look, I'm not going to give too much credit. I am a Saints fan, and I give credit where credit is due. But I'm going to stay just right there, and I'm glad we don't have to see you anymore at the end of the season, especially if we're trying to make a playoff push. Definitely don't want a team like that can spoil those chances. Now let's go to the next game. Let's get to the Cowboys versus the Commanders.
Unbelievable.
That game was a very ugly game. Very ugly game. And I tell you what, when you're playing a football game, if your team is playing, you do not want to depend on special teams.
No.
And special teams was all through this game was decisive on how the game was turning. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking 2 block punts for Dallas. Their punt, 2 of the punts were blocked. 2 extra points were missed by Washington. Their kicker missed 2 extra points. One of them very crucial at the end of the game. A kickoff. The Commanders got to within at the end of the game. Got to within 3 points, 20-17, with like 3 minutes left, and they kick off the ball. The guy lets the ball go for it was Cavante Delpin, or I forgot Kelpin. I forgot how you say Telpin. Anyway, he lets it go through his legs. He grabs it and goes up and does the most phenomenal spin that I see on anybody, and takes off. This guy's one of the fastest on the field, and he takes off and gets a crushing touchdown. But then they're right. Who is it? The Commanders. Jaden Daniels goes right down the field. They kick a field goal, and they stop Dallas, and then gets the ball back. And Jaden Daniels throws an 80-plus yard touchdown to Terry McLaurin with seconds left in the game, with 22 seconds left in the game. And the kicker misses the extra point to tie.
That crazy?
He misses the extra point. And this, you don't want to depend on your kickers, but man, I mean, even Bill Cowher said that's on the kicker. I don't care if the ball is being shaken. You got to trust the guy, trust the process, go through and kick it no matter what. Let it be blocked if it's going to be blocked. But he missed the kick. He kicked it wide left, and they kicked the onside kick, and the onside kick goes for a touchdown. And to put the nail in the coffin, that's crazy. Special teams decided this game totally. And Jaden Daniels had a relatively good game. He had 275 yards, 2 TDs. He threw two interceptions, but the last one was with the Hail Mary. He ran for 74 yards and a touchdown. And Terry McLaurin had 102 yards, including that big bomb for 82 yards or 86 yards in the end of the game, 1 touchdown. And Commander Nash, if you're out there, look, I'm sorry, man. Your team, they've let 3 in a row go, and they're still 7-5. They still got opportunities. I think they're still second in the NFC East to the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, they were up top. But look, I wasn't expecting much anyway from this team, considering they were new, fresh coach, fresh quarterback, young team. This is above expectations what I was expecting from them. And Dallas, they're not out of it, believe it or not. They're 4-7 now, and don't look now. Dallas is trying to stay in the hunt for the NFC East.
I mean, kudos to Dallas, and this is a special teams day. I mean, let's be honest. The Panthers stayed in that game with the Chiefs because of Eddie Pinheiro, who is now the highest scoring PAT converter, field goal kicker in NFL history. Thanks to Justin, can't think of his last name, his little 0.4 that he fell behind. But nonetheless, I mean, and this is a kicker they just picked up from the Jets. Hey, Jack, I know you're watching. Special teams can make or break. We've seen this every year, like games that are on the line, and it's all on the back of the punt kicker, the field goal, the extra points, the conversion. No matter who it is, it's the special teams. And this is what came down to it. Dallas played better on the road than they have played at home. And we said this might happen. They won against the Commanders. I'm actually shocked, but I think that came down to vet versus rookie. This is just one of those things that at some point it comes out. This is the person that's been here the longest, and that's how you get it done. It's the seniority kind of supersedes the novice, even though the skill set is very equal, the same. By the way, small plug, Desmond Ridder just entered the game for the Raiders. in place of Gardner Minshew. I just got that update. So when we get to that game, I just want to let you know because they are at the 2-minute warning in the Broncos Raiders game, and that is not a far game apart as well. But yeah, kudos to the Cowboys. The NFC East looks to be competitive. We talked about how at the end of the season, which is now, divisions play very differently when they have to play these opponents that they're trying to scramble to the top to claim the division and get to the playoffs.
Absolutely. And speaking of division games, you're right. These teams, when they're playing against each other, they play tight. And man, boy, we're going to move on over to the NFC North, going to the Vikings versus the Bears, an overtime thriller. The Bears, they just can't catch a break, but they seem just like the Panthers. They seem to be on the cusp. They're on the cusp. They got rid of Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator. And the last two games, man, between the Vikings in this overtime thriller, losing 30-27 and 20-19 versus the Packers, they just really having a tough time. And I think they might be out of the playoff push here because the top three teams are the Vikings, the Lions at number one, Vikings at number two, and the Packers right now, they're thrashing the 49ers 38-10. They're trying to stay in the hunt. And in that top three, all three of those teams are likely going to be in the playoffs because that's just how good they are and how close they are. But the Bears have to meet all three of those teams again. But look, they played pretty good early on. The game was pretty close in the first half, but the wheels just fell off. And I think the Vikings are Sam Darnold had a really big day. He threw for 330 yards and 2 TDs, no interceptions. Aaron Jones had 22 carries, 106 yards. Look, who is it? DJ Moore for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams threw for 300 plus yards, 330 yards himself with 2 TDs, and also 340 and 2 TDs, and rushed for 33 yards. And that's the problem. He was the leading rusher. They had no rushing attack whatsoever.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to talk about. It was horrible.
Yes, it was just god awful. But Keenan Allen and DJ Moore both had 106 yards, 1 TD, and 86 yards and 1 TD respectively. They just couldn't. They just couldn't close the deal. They got to overtime, and let me tell you, when they got to overtime, they did that within 30 seconds.
That was
crazy. They scored 10 points within 30 seconds. That onside kick worked for them, and they got the ball. Caleb Williams was a magician, and I think the future's bright for him. They just need an offensive line, and they need to make sure that they have continuity with their offensive scheme. And they got something there. They really do have something here. It's just right now they're 2-7 right now in one possession games, and here we are, 30-27. They lost another one.
That game should have never been that close. We talked about this, but I mean, there was an instance where Sam Darnold limped off the field. I mean, he ended up looks like being okay. I saw him on the sideline later on during the game, but it's just poor playing of the sport. It's not even necessarily that you can't make the points. It's your penalties, if your poor judgment, your mishandling of the ball, and even I hate to bring it back, but the Panthers actually ate up all but 6 minutes in one quarter. You got to be able to do stuff like that if you want to stay in the game, because you have to use every weapon accessible. You got a team that is better than you, and the whole world knows is better than you. You have to be like, the giant and the little guy, or David the Goliath. I can explain, Jack and the Beanstalk. You got to be able to know that there is something out there that can be advantageous to me to still win this game despite all odds, despite physical barriers, despite even mental barriers. There's something out here I can use to my advantage to help me stay in this game and stay in the fight. I mean, it's a survival. Football is a game of survival. It's just one where it's kind of, barbaric at times, honestly, and we pay and we love to see it. But it literally is the survival of the fittest in the game of football.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And look, going up against a vaunted defense of Brian Flores, And it was probably tough to run against, but man, you got to keep trying. And like I said, Caleb Williams was running for his life, and that's how he ended up being a leading rusher. But even saying that, he only had 33 yards. You got DeAndre Swift, and he's got like maybe 32 yards. They really shut that run game down, but Caleb, again, stepped up and kept his team in the game. And so kudos to them, unfortunately, in a failing effort. But I don't see them making the playoffs this year. It's going to be it's just insurmountable odds going up against the top 3 teams in their division that are just right at now 10-1, 9-2, and soon to be 8-3.
It's such a difference from the 4th position to the 1, 2, and 3 that they are literally about to be spun back into the projection of having another top draft for like the 3rd season.
Yes, but I mean, this is where you are. You start the process. You're starting to build. You got to keep continuity. And I just don't know if they. And a lot of people are going to say maybe they should fire their coach, Eberflus. I can't say his name, but maybe they should
fire a coach every season.
Right. They may need to keep him. And they look like they made some changes with their offensive coordinator, and it seems to be better. They scored 27 points in a losing effort, but again, they kept it close the last game also against 2 very, very good teams. So you got to like your efforts in these last couple of games. And so you got to keep it going. And I think they do. They're going to have a tough sledding towards the end of the season. They got to meet all 3 of these teams to get in the division. So we'll see.
It's going to be 0-3. I mean, they're probably going to get swept by their entire division. I mean, Sam Darnold gave them some leeway today. Sam is starting to look like the old Sam that we talked about this morning. You get about 5 good wins out of him. Then there's the Jets Sam. So when the Jets Sam comes out, then it's like, okay. And so this is the Jets Sam has showed his face. This is the 2nd time we've seen him. And then today he's probably officially back. It's just because Chicago played so bad on their end that they were able to get this win. Like, this is ridiculous. Like,
it looks like Chicago was trying to shut down Justin Jefferson, but then they allowed Jordan Addison to get his career highs of 162 yards and a TD. So again, kudos to them for Vikings for making adjustments. And look, this is the NFL, any given Sunday. So
hi, Matt.
I was about to say, did he say good morning? I need to put my glasses on.
He said good evening. It's Matt from this morning, though, and thank you so much, Matt. He's always coming on saying I look nice. Thank you, Matt. You're far too kind. Thanks for supporting us, Matt. How'd your team do today? Okay, go ahead, J Trains. Coverage.
All right, so let's move on to the next game. We're going to go to the Titans versus the Texans. Look,
shocker.
This was a shocker for sure. We all predicted that I think Jack did he predict the Titans would win that game? I'm not sure. But look, I wasn't expecting. I thought Joe Mixon they would depend on him for the run. They shut him down to 22 yards. Wow, they shut them down. And on the opposite side, Tony Pollard, the guy that we don't talk about, is under the radar, used to play for Dallas. Tony Pollard had a strong game, 24 carries, 119 yards. How about the Panthers?
Yeah, what's up, Finesse? I tried to tell you this morning when you said we were just as bad as the Giants that we weren't. So thank you. So thank you for that. And he said that the Giants now have the 2nd pick. So thanks for jumping on. Now I got the comments coming on through my little.
Yeah, they're coming in. Yes, and they're probably going to keep it too because, I mean, like Jack said earlier, look, they put the guy in for a reason, and they forced Daniel Jones. They put DeVito in for a reason. They forced Daniel Jones out, and they don't want to win anymore. They want to get their number 1 guy in. They want to get that solidify a top 2, top 3 pick. They're probably going to get the number 1 pick if they continue to lose out. And there you go, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward or Quinn Ewers. I mean, somebody up there that's going to be a franchise face, and I know they're looking forward to it. But
they are. You were talking about these Texans and Titans game. And that game looked really close from the onset because Tennessee went out scoring out the gate 10-7 for the first quarter. Houston got themselves on the board. They were both 10 for 10 in the second, right before the half. And then you got they kind of trickled down, but still close game. Tennessee only got 3, but Houston went ahead and got another touchdown. And then Tennessee got 9. They went for the 2-point conversion. They realized this was going to be a close game. Smart call by them, because that 2 points is what really propelled them to have this final score 32-27 in the end. I can't believe CJ Stroud lost to Will Levis, J-Train.
Look, CJ Stroud is still in his sophomore slump. He threw 20 of 33 for 247. He got 2 TDs. One of Nico Collins, who's back, I might add, 5 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. But he also took 4 sacks and he threw 2 interceptions. So he's having an up and down season right now. And Will Levis, as much flack I like to give him because he's been pretty bad, he showed out against a pretty strong defense. And he showed out with some big plays. He threw some explosive plays. Calvin Ridley had a big day, 93 yards. Will Levis, 278, 2 TDs, 1 interception.
Calvin, he's still playing after all. We never call his name anymore.
Man, Calvin Ridley, he did cry out a few games back about not getting the ball. And that was the shot at Will Levis. Whether we want to admit it or not, he didn't say his name, but he just said, I'm not getting the ball.
Let's be clear. Let's be honest. Calvin has contributed to his own fall from grace from his times in Atlanta. And then I think he went down to Jacksonville for a little bit, got into some issues with gambling. And just, be glad you're in here. Stop screaming and crying and whining and just play ball, Calvin. And be glad you're on somebody's team.
But he's a good player. He's an above average wide receiver. He's above average route runner. If that's your weapon, give him the ball. I agree with you that he's made some mistakes in the past and anything that, water under the bridge, that's neither here nor there. Get the man the ball. And I think a lot of that was, him and Will Levis wasn't on the same page. But now, looking at this game, this is a really good game. This is a good start against a good team because they were 2-8, now they're 3-8. And don't look now, the Texans might be falling back as well. But I think they still lead the division, because that AFC North or South is just not. It's just really bad.
It's horrible. Like, Calvin really was comparable to Julio Jones. I remember when he came in, he was literally putting up numbers like that. And it's just like you said, even though he has stuff that has gone on off field, we just have not heard. He's been super quiet. So maybe it was because Will Levis just wasn't giving him the ball. That you can't make the stats if you're not getting the ball. So there's that.
Absolutely. And look, moving on to the Lions versus the Colts. I think we all agreed that the Lions were just going to win this game. But man, I didn't think it was going to be like a 24-6. And this is a game that how complete of a team that the Lions are. The Lions were 9-1 going into this game, and they didn't overlook the Colts because the Colts is coming off a pretty strong victory versus the Jets. And Anthony Richardson looked a lot better than what he did when he was benched. And neither one of these quarterbacks threw a touchdown nor ran for a touchdown. So they didn't help their team. Neither did they hurt their team. But in Anthony Richardson's case, it did hurt his team because the run game was shut down. The dominant runner that Jonathan Taylor was shut down to about 35 yards. But on the opposite end, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery just dominated the run. And they scored 3 touchdowns total. And that was the game right there. That was pretty much it. You had one offense that couldn't do anything, that was anemic. Anthony Richardson led in the rushing for his team. And he obviously he threw he was 11 of 28, 172. So a percentage like that is just not really that great. But they're going up against the class of the NFC.
We talked about that this morning. I told you, I was like Anthony Richardson, or I told y'all, Anthony Richardson just played a little bit because he knew he was coming back. We have this big, I'm back, game. And well-deserved because you've been off. You got all this energy. You well-rested, blah, blah, blah. I was not surprised. First of all, I knew they would lose. If they didn't, I would have been shocked. Let's be honest. I think this might have been the game. One of these games I talked about somebody putting up 40 points. Or that might have been Denver. That's the Denver game. but against the Raiders. But I knew this game would not be close. Now, the fact that they didn't even make a touchdown and that they relied only on their special teams, and even at that, he only scored in the first and second quarters and none the rest of the game is insane. And it almost felt like the Lions were kind of dangling around for a little bit, trying to give them an opportunity to kind of be in there. Like they don't want to come in here just blow everybody out. You could just tell there's some type of reserve that Dan Campbell's like, just take them as they are, play them where they are, and then play good ball. And so they're not coming in here trying to be showy, like, hey, we're these people and we know we're going to put up this amount of points. Some teams will come out and they just automatically like, oh, yeah, we know we're way better than them, so we're going to run up the scoreboard on them. I don't get that from the Campbells. I don't get that from Dan Campbell and the Lions. I get that they are very measured when they play and that they literally just play from play to play, quarter to quarter, half to half, game to game. And I think they kind of, that's what happened. Even in the second quarter, when they got, 14 points, they did really well. And so the point that from that point on, it was like a takeoff game. And let me just include somebody real quick. So Finesse made a comment, said Bryce Young is Garber 100. Dude, you sound ridiculous. You might want to look at the stats. We're not going to even entertain him no more. And show yourself, sir. You can always come on the show if you want to and pull up, because trust me, everybody in the whole NFL knows right now that your conversation is garbage.
Look, I'm not going to say Bryce Young is garbage at all, especially when I look at Heisman Trophy quarterbacks, it used to be that most of those guys won because of their team, not because of themselves. But now you look at, Bryce Young, I'm sorry, he's 5'10", soaking wet, 180 pounds soaking wet. And he was the dominant player at Alabama. He had great players, but they got to get the ball. And this is somebody that found ways to get them the ball. So Bryce Young is definitely that dude. I think he just needed a little bit of confidence in the game. It's not great when you have a person being the number one overall pick going to a team that has no assets to put people around him. Caleb Williams definitely has assets around him. So they're going to have an opportunity to be a little bit better than what Bryce Young was when he first got into the league. But there's no way that kid is garbage or Garbo, as Finesse wants to say.
He's just trying to poke fun. Let's keep it moving, J Train. He's just trying to make fun because they're quarterbackless and coachless and water boyless in New York.
So look, the Lions are just the class of not just the NFC. They're probably the class right now, top of the class of the NFL, even more than the Chiefs right now. And it just looks like because they're a complete team on every facet, every level, they look to be very good or dominant, very good to dominant. Even coaching, the top, we're talking about defense and Aaron Glenn, and offensive coordinating with Ben Johnson. From top, bar none, it just seems to be the best. And I called it. They're my pick to go to the Super Bowl for the NFC, and AFC are the Chiefs. So I like both those teams to go to the Super Bowl. I'm still going to stay with that. And I just think that the Chiefs are definitely they're number two. They're number two into the Lions right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. And they're definitely playing, like I said, lights out. So kudos to them.
Some final scores. Looks like the Packers dominated the 49ers 38-10. The Seahawks won 16-6 against the Cardinals. And the Broncos didn't get that 40-point game you got, but they definitely won by 10 with 29-19. Look, those teams, the Seahawks are still in it. They're what, 6-5 or 5? Were they 4-5 at first? They're 5-5 now. They're tied with 49ers just lost, so the 49ers are 5-6.
That's crazy.
Their injuries are coming at the wrong time. It's just not good for them right now. And to not have their quarterback is a blow to them. And going to lose your quarterback before a game, NFC, not a rival, but an NFC game, a critical game that you probably needed. And they could have won, I think, had they had their key players in. Not having Brock Purdy is pretty damning for them.
Very, because it's like, what are they supposed to do at this point? Like, seriously, what can they do? You can't help injuries. You cannot help injuries. And if you've already been playing up and down anyway, and now you got an injury, like you literally have no recourse at this point.
Right. And Brandon Allen didn't have really a good game. I mean, the defense, I was watching the game, Green Bay, they just kept dominating him. He coughed the ball up a couple of times, and it's pretty tough for them. And so, but that division, NFC West is still wide open. So even where they are right now at 5-6, they still have opportunities to win this division because Cardinals just dropped one. So they're not 6-5. So it's still they're one game behind. If they can get back the injuries, get back players from those key injuries, including Brock Purdy, there's still an opportunity. And the Rams also, where the Rams play tonight?
They play tonight at 8:20 against the Eagles.
Yeah, and the Rams are 5-5. So the Rams look like they might be able to tie if they can win tonight against the Eagles, they're tied for the lead for the NFC West division tie. In the lead.
Were you really surprised though about the Seahawks and Cardinals game?
Kind of, I'll be honest with you, because I just think the Cardinals look like a much better team at top of the class. You guys mentioned the 12th man as an option there. Look, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but they didn't even score a touchdown, so they held them 2 field goals. So yeah, so I was a bit surprised, and it was a close game. Seemingly, it just wasn't. They shut Kyler Murray down. He didn't score a touchdown.
They didn't score. Yeah, their only field goals came in the second quarter and the fourth quarter. And Seattle had a full touchdown in the second quarter, a touchdown with a missed PAT in the third quarter, and then they had the fourth quarter with another field goal, or maybe the third quarter may have had. Let's see. No, they had a touchdown. I guess they just missed the PAT. It's crazy. It's just one of those days, like you just any given Sunday, like we always say.
Yes. And speaking of any given Sunday, let's go down to Miami like any given Sunday. The Patriots versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins, look, I mentioned it that they're probably going to go on a run. They're going to go on a run. They got their quarterback back, and boy, did he look impressive in this game. Tua Tagovailoa threw 29 of 40 for 347 and 4 touchdowns. He was a surgeon out there. He carved up this defense. And Jalen Waddle had a big day, 144 yards and a touchdown. Jonnu Smith had 87 yards and a touchdown, and Devon Achane had 56 total yards and 2 TDs. Drake May had a decent day. He threw a touchdown, through interception, but he also got sacked 4 times. And he's a rookie. And Miami held New England to 86 total rushing yards with no TDs. So they were able to shut down that run game. So the defense came into play and gave opportunities to Tua, and Tua took advantage of every opportunity, and this was just expected. So now they're 5-6, and the Patriots fall to 3-9. This is what you expect, but what do you think about this game, Sonia?
You mean to tell me? Okay, wait a minute. No. Okay, I had to look for a second because I'm looking at the stats. I didn't even think New England was going to score at all. Once I looked and saw that it was just 0 for 3 straight quarters, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. These are angry Dolphins. They're angry Fins. They're turning into sharks.
Yes.
But then I saw, like you said, they scored all their points. It's like they tried to come back in the fourth quarter. Literally, they scored 15 points in the fourth quarter. And Miami, by that time, had already done all their damage. It literally is like a shark. It's done all its damage, and then it finally calms down. Once it's bit up everybody and taken out limbs, then it swims on back out to the water and doesn't bother anybody because it's already fed. And so that's what these Dolphins did. They calmed down. It was like calm waters. Here's the correlation. The first quarter, nobody scored. Sharks are out there swimming, but you're nowhere near them. Then all of a sudden they just pop up like Jaws. All of us 80s and 70s babies and 90s babies remember Jaws, especially 80s and 70s babies. Remember Jaws, and that was the second quarter, and they just went into an attack frenzy and tore these Patriots up. Tore them up. And then they were still tearing them up in the third quarter, but not as bad. The second quarter, they had 24 points. Like they just beat them down. in one quarter. That's where all the points came from. And they started to calm down in the third quarter. Then the fourth quarter, search and rescue were coming in and getting people separated from Jaws's mouth. And he finally calms down and goes on back out to the water. But by that point, people are already murdered and bloody and attacked. And that's exactly what happened. These fins turned into Jaws on the Patriots. And that's a long plane ride back up to Beantown tonight for them.
Look, the Patriots are what I expected them to be. They got a rookie quarterback, new head coach. I'm not expecting them to come out. I wasn't expecting Washington to be what they are. I expected teams to be not good. And so, I mean, sometimes you get luck. You get the right players, right coach in the right time. You get some favorable matchups early on. And look, Washington is pretty good, for what they are right now. Patriots, not so much. And so this is but again, what I expected. And I think Gerard Mayo is going to get another opportunity next season. And they get a few key pieces on defense, because Gerard Mayo is definitely known for his defense, obviously, as a former defensive player. And so, and I like what I see in Drake May. Drake May is probably the future of that team. Let's keep Tom Brady out of the mix. He's no longer there. This is now Drake May's team. Get pieces around him, and it looks like they can succeed. The future is bright for them.
Hey, Steve-O, he says no. I mean, but you can't fire a coach every year. He's
yes. Why are you gonna? So because they're so used to winning, they're trying to get back. I mean, this is a team that won 6 Super Bowls, so obviously they're spoiled. I'll be lucky. I mean, as a Saints organization, we only have one. I'm glad we have that one. We if Sean Payton would have came there, we probably wouldn't have that. So, I mean, just Steve-O, just be calm and patient. Allow something to matriculate. Let them get something done. Let it marinate. Get more players, and let Gerard Mayo cook if he can next season.
You have to.
Get rid of him. Yes.
You got to come back to the real world that every team is not winning 6 or 7 Super Bowls. If y'all never win another Super Bowl, please have several seats.
Yes, because you've tied the Dallas and the Steelers for all time, and you've done it in a short span
with one quarterback.
Never for them teams to get those Super Bowls
with the same quarterback.
Yes, absolutely. That lightning don't strike in the bottle twice. You gotta just be thankful what you got, Steve-O. But I get it. They're spoiled. I was spoiled with the Saints after Sean Payton. I was like, and Drew Brees left. I was like, I had to tell fans, look, just appreciate these guys while you got them, because when they're gone, that's a wrap. It's going to be hard. It's hard to find that guy to keep for 16 years, 17 years, and be dominant in most of those years, man. That doesn't happen often. Like Mahomes for Kansas City, they had a hard time for years before they got there, man. Look, it's just what it is. Everybody has their time in the sun to shine. And sometimes you got to rain. You got to go through some cumulonimbus clouds.
Or some tsunamis, for real.
Yes, absolutely. But speaking of moving on to another team, let's go to another game. Let's go to the let me see who else.
Buccaneers versus the Giants.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid. I know
why.
Mac probably don't want to hear that. He probably watched the game. But man, he's already in pain. He don't want to be in more pain. Man, 30-7.
Who else can we talk about? We don't really have that many other teams.
There's not many more, but the Bucs just ran all over. I mentioned earlier today, I said they said that Mike Evans came back, but the Bucs have a 3-headed monster, and their running backs, including Bucky Irving, who's a 4th-round draft pick this year. He's just dominating. He ran for 87 yards in a TD, and he got 64 yards in the air as well. Look, all 3 of the running backs had a touchdown. Baker Mayfield had a touchdown on the ground. So they got 4 touchdowns on the ground. Baker Mayfield threw for 294, excuse me, but he didn't throw a TD, but he didn't hurt his team by throwing an interception. The Giants, man, I just don't know what to say. I mean, there's some, if I got to give, finesse, if you're out there, you got a good running back in Tyrone Tracy, if that makes you smile.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I
I don't
really
know.
didn't think they were gonna put up no points. They literally every time I looked, it was 0, and they put up all their points in the fourth quarter.
Man, I mean, only had 7. They only scored 7.
Yeah.
The Bucks, 30-7, man. They just rolled. So the Bucks and the Falcons are going to be the head-to-head at some point. And one of those teams, I just think the Bucks are the stronger team. And somebody said that earlier. I thought it would be the Falcons, but I just like, man, I like the Bucks where they are right now because they're finding ways to win. They don't have Godwin. They didn't have Mike Evans. They had some losses, close losses here, but they have a solid foundation. They got a really good defense, which is what you should have, especially somebody who wants to get to the playoffs and make noise in the playoffs. And they have a solid run game, and they showed it here. They just dominated on the ground.
I mean, not only that, Baker Mayfield finds a way to spread the ball around. Like he's passing it to people like Sean Tucker and Bucky Irvin, people that you don't always hear because all you were so used to hearing is Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Then he even gave one to Rashad White in the third quarter. He himself made a 10-yard run and got the touchdown, even though they missed the PAT at the end. And that was it. Like those were the scores for that game, with Devin Singletary being the only, and that was a 1-yarder at that, with Graham Gano's kick in the fourth quarter for the Giants. So when you think about, okay, a 1-yard run, it feels almost like Tampa Bay just relented at that point and just let them have it. Like, hey, it's the end of the game. We've already done as much as we're going to do to them. And so, I mean, he had 294 yards. DeVito had 189 yards, which looks decent for him, but he was 21 for 31. And Mayfield was 24 for 30. So that's 6 additional passes he had that DeVito did not have. And then the rushing yards, I mean, the carries from Irvin, he had 12 carries, 87 yards. Tracy, they're the leading rusher for the Giants, only had 42 yards out of 9 carries. I mean, he's not even getting 10 yards per carry. Mike Evans did come back with 5 receptions, had about an average of 10 yards per carry because he got 68 yards. But then Malik Neighbors, who we all been bragging about because he's looked good for the Giants, he had 6 receptions, 64 yards. So he's averaging about 10 yards per carry, but they just couldn't pull it out, J-Train.
Look, and to add insult to injury, Baker Mayfield on his running touchdown, he does the Tommy DeVito touchdown score, saying, "Show me my money."
Yes, yes. What money, sir? What money?
Look, back at the pizza shop is where it's at.
Right, you were passing out Italian BMTs on the sidelines. No, sir.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So I'm not gonna knock any team right now because my Saints are. I mean, they're on a 2-game win streak, but man, they're still in the cellar. Look, I think the Giants are really they saw where they are, saw who they were, and it's time to make decisions. Right now, they're about to rebuild. They let Daniel Jones go. That's the start of it. They're probably going to let their coach go. Dabo is going to get fired at the end of the season.
That's
I just
crazy.
see him staying there, and also they're going to get they're going to solidify a top 3 pick overall.
Yeah, and was that the last game we had to review for so far?
Yes. I mean, obviously, we could talk about the Broncos and Raiders. The Broncos won the game 29-19. We thought they would win that game. There's a dumpster fire with the Raiders. Captain Jack, sorry. I hate to even say that. And I haven't talked to Captain in a long time now. But if you're out there, Captain, sorry that this is happening to your team. But, man, the Broncos look for real. Sean Payton looks for real. And Bo Nix looks for real. I don't know how many yards did Bo Nix, if you can get that for me, how many he threw for.
Yeah, Bo Nix.
This game,
25 for 42, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns.
No interceptions?
Nope.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Gardner Minshew, 25 for 42, which is the same amount of passes, 230 yards, so about 53 yards less than Nix did. 1 touchdown, but also 1 interception.
Gardner is what he is. I mean, he's not the answer right now. He's what they need to help try to sustain or save face, but they don't have a franchise quarterback at all there in the building. So with their record, where are they right now? Oh, they're 2-9. So everybody's in the mix for that top 5 pick. They're probably going to get a quarterback. I would say, or maybe don't get a quarterback, because if it's up to Keith or somebody else, they would say not to get a quarterback in the first round, but to get somebody else that's going to help your team right away, maybe either offensively on the line or wide receiver or a defensive player or defensive line, defensive back, and then get a value pick with a quarterback in the second or third round. I don't know. It fits me, and this crop is not as good as the crop that we have this year. I'm still going to take a quarterback if I'm in the top 3. And one of those quarterbacks would probably work. You got to do something, because the Raiders are just like, wow, you made a move to Las Vegas.
Yep.
Took a gamble going to Las Vegas. And
no pun intended.
Yes.
Gamble.
And it is definitely bad right now. Antonio Pierce, interim head coach, showing that he should have just been an interim head coach. And they lose Devontae Adams. That didn't work out on both sides either way. But man, I don't know what to say. But on the other end, Broncos defense looks like the Orange Crush reinvigorated, or 2.0. They're just dominant, and they're giving the ball back to Bo Nix. Bo Nix might be in the mix for Rookie of the Year. I mean, we're looking at Jimmy Gaines. You thought he was the one that was gonna win it, but man, 3 losses in a row might pull him out of that. Bo Nix might come up and catch him in the race.
Yeah, this game, literally, I mean, I honestly thought it was going to be a real blowout, because Sean Payton has, the propensity to put up a lot of points, but it is a divisional game. And so that's probably why at least part of the Raiders defense tried to show up. They scored in every single quarter. I mean, Denver did. The Raiders did not score in the first quarter or the third quarter, but they put up a lot of points in the second quarter, which made them look like it was going to be a good game. They put up 13 points. And at that time, Denver only had 9. So it looked like, okay, this might go down. But at the end of the day, they only lost by 10 points. I know I say only, but it could have been much worse. I don't really agree with the Raiders getting a quarterback, especially because they're probably going to be looking for a new head coach at the same time. No, that is usually not a good recipe, to be bringing in a new head coach and a new quarterback. Those are the 2 leadership positions on the field, and it usually is just not good. I mean, yeah, they're screaming Prime and his son, and I guess in that type of scenario, they know each other, they know each other's play style, and maybe that would work. But I mean, I don't know. Is Prime really coming to Vegas? I was thinking about earlier today, and I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm a big Cam Newton fan. Cam is still, a performer. He's still able to be in the league, and I'm like, why not give him a chance at least as a backup? Let him earn his way as a starting role, and I think he would be better suited in Vegas than some of the carousel that they've had going on around there with quarterbacks.
Look, I think Cam has made an excellent transition to the media, sports particularly. And look, podcasting. He's on ESPN now. I don't think he wants to beat that body up anymore. I think mentally he's probably out of it. He may say that he wants, or he's better than the player. He'll say he's better than some 32 of these other guys, and he could probably still play. But in his last ditch efforts that he played when he came back to Carolina, when he was with New England, he had some struggling years. Don't get me wrong; the teams probably weren't all that great, but he didn't look like the Cam 2015 Cam. You know what I mean? Yeah, but
I think we've seen that's it. But that goes to show you the pieces around you too. That 2015 team, I mean, that as they say, like Detroit, the Detroit Pistons had the Fab 5. This was like the Fab 15 that we had for 15. And like once they imploded that nucleus the very next year, which made no sense. I guess because people start wanting their money or what have you. That's when things just kind of just went awry and it was never the same. But who knows? Somebody might pull him in. They pulled Joe Flacco in. They pulled, what's the guy's name? Nick Foles has been pulled in before. It has been done. So we'll have to see. And it's funny you talk about Devontae Adams being gone. It came out that Aaron Rodgers is purposely missing medical scans now because he doesn't want to be sidelined, even though he's been vocal about wanting to not return to the Jets next year, because now that nobody's playing on the playground the way you want to take all your toys and go home.
And Jack didn't want to participate in that conversations because he think that's just like hearsay. So
Oh,
look,
it's Apple News, and once they start putting it out in Yahoo News, Yahoo Sports, miss me with that. Those are reputable sources.
look, I'm just gonna say, I'll reiterate what I said this morning. I'm disappointed with the Jets, and on paper, I picked them to be the class of the AFC East, and they just totally disappointed and went the opposite way. And it started with the guy that's at quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. He has to take a lot of that blame. He didn't play well, perform well, and at times, and he's looked above 40. He looks like a guy that probably should be on the sideline, holding the clipboard versus a guy that's out there starting.
Passing out Gatorade.
And I just think like it's just, and everything trickled downhill. So you could see there's a lot of dysfunction within that locker room and some toxic mess going on in there. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Now, going back to what we said about quarterbacks, which you said not getting quarterbacks in Las Vegas. You're right. That's probably the rule. I agree. That's probably the rule. But there are a couple of exceptions when we talk about D'Amico Ryan and C.J. Stroud when they first came in this year with Jaden Daniels and his head coach. I mean, they're showing there is some evidence that there's proof that you can go out there and do
anomalies. Those
but
are
they are anomalies. Yes, they are the exceptions. I mean, they are the exceptions, not the rule. But yeah, that's it. I have nothing more to talk about. Besides, we can get a little bit in about the Eagles and the Rams tonight. I think we talked about that earlier today. I got the Eagles winning this game, even though I think the coaching is probably better for the Rams. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams could sneak a win at home. But I like the Eagles' offense a lot better. They just have a lot more weapons. Saquon Barkley's on a tear. And their defense is good enough to stop the Rams from scoring. What do you think, sis?
Yeah, so they actually have a probability of the Eagles winning by 60%. And I was just looking at Twitter 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes. People at SoFi are saying it feels like an Eagles home game. So the Eagles have shown up and looks like they've taken over SoFi Stadium. I don't know if, sometimes teams can look like they know they're going to lose to their fans, just don't show up. I mean, kind of like I saw a lot of speckled folks in the Panthers Stadium today. But, these predictions are definitely there. These teams last met up in week 5 of the 2023 season, and the Eagles beat them then 23-14. I don't think you see much of a difference in the score tonight because the teams are pretty much the same, except you got Fletcher Cox that retired. Of course, Jason Kelce retired, but then they picked up a big weapon in Saquon Barkley, who has been playing like dynamic, almost renewed by going to this new team, this NFC East nemesis, for lack of a better word. But he's even come out and said, hey, he feels appreciated. He feels loved by the city of brotherly love. And all of that stuff, makes him perform even better. So I definitely have them playing. The Eagles are a -155 money line favorite. So basically, you risk $155 to win $100, while the Rams are +131 underdog. I don't know if this game is going to be, super big as far as the score going up, but I mean, some people are picking 34-28 as the final score, 6 or 7 points, something like that. But the Rams are going to try to represent. They are at home, but I just think at the very end, the Eagles are going to continue to soar. No pun intended.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Fly, Eagles, fly. We've seen a Redskin already doing it, and that's just how they get down. But they're kicking off at 8:20 here shortly, so we'll definitely be able to catch that game live. It's been great, right?
Absolutely. And with that said, that's the end of the show. Always catch us on Roku, YouTube, and Facebook on National Streaming Sports. And Monday morning, you catch Mac and Jack show with. Is Mac coming back?
I don't know how they're doing that, but it's going to be a show nonetheless.
Absolutely.
But this show will re-air tonight at 11 p.m. So make sure if you caught us late in the show that you come back on and catch all the love. Thanks to everybody for the comments and all that good stuff. J-Train, we wish you a good night. We'll see you soon. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Good night. Happy Thanksgiving.
Good night.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.